Welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. So, warm welcome to this third event of our webinar series called Unlocking the Power of Clean Energy Innovation with Living Labs. My name is Tanja Suni. I lead the Impact and Exploitation team in the Clean Energy Transition Partnership, and our goal is to equip our projects and the knowledge community with all the skills and networks needed to integrate their innovations into society and hopefully driving the widespread adoption of clean energy solutions like that. In the first webinar, we talked about design thinking and Living Lab essentials. In the second webinar, we went deeper into the heart of innovation, going from prototypes to validation with end users. And today, we will focus on commercialization essentials, where we will explore the critical steps and strategies needed to bring your clean energy innovations successfully to market. The expertise, now as before, guiding us through this series comes from Joelle Mastelic and her team at the Energy Living Lab Association. We are recording this presentation part of the webinar, and we will store it on CETP's YouTube channel, where you can see the previous webinars as well. And later, we will transform them all to the CETP Impact Library that we are launching this year. So there you will find all the parts of this series and much more. But without further ado, I'll give the floor to Joelle. Enjoy the webinar.
So my name is Joelle Mastelic. I'm professor in the University of Applied Science, Western Switzerland, and I have the pleasure to introduce you today the commercialization essential for clean energy innovators. What we will discuss today, we will have a short introduction to know why we are thinking about commercialization at this early stage. Then we will talk about market analysis, what are the different tools that exist to analyze the market, and then into business planning, the value proposition model, what is a business plan, what is the difference between a business plan and a business model, and then we will go shortly into demonstration and upscaling. We will then have an interactive activity where you will test one of the tools that is proposed. So why should research and development and innovation projects think about commercialization at the beginning? It's really simple. It's to make an impact. If we think about the technology, but this technology does not reach the market, this is lots of resources, human, financial resources that are not into the market. So that's really important in terms of objectives to reach the market, and to reach the market with a broad adoption, with generating a societal transformation. So last time we have talked about the societal readiness level, so how the society can adopt the different technologies that are proposed. And this time we will talk about the market. So are they ready to pay for this technology, and how much and how? So we will discuss about the strategies and understanding also the barriers for this demand. So these three indicators go hand in hand. We have the technological readiness level, where the technology evolves from the first idea to a solution which is integrated in a technological system. We have the societal readiness level that we have introduced in the preceding webinar to consider the adoption by the society of the technology that has been developed. And today we will focus on the market and commercial readiness level to ensure that this is integrated into the market. So what is this market readiness level? So we would like as well to have the same number of steps. There's not one by one. If you take the technological readiness level, the societal readiness level, and the market readiness level, that's not exactly at the same time that all the steps are running, but we have the same scale with the 9-step scale to know where we should be in the development in terms of technology, but also in terms of society and in terms of market and commercialization. We need to find a balance Because if we're working only on the technological side and we are leaving apart the societal side and the market and commercial side, we will have problems. So it means that the ideal solution is that we have a high technological readiness level. The technology has been validated and a high societal acceptance. So there is a need for what has been developed and a high market and commercial readiness level, meaning the market is ready to pay for the technology that has been developed. We can differentiate two situations. A situation when there is a technological push, meaning that the technological readiness level is high, the technology has been developed, but at the moment, we have not tested the market. We don't know if there is someone that is able to pay for this technology. Who is this person and what level of investment is ready to be engaged? So this is the technological push. We have another situation where there is a market pull, meaning that the market is asking for a solution, but the technology has not been assessed, has not been developed, or is not on the market. This is a market pull, meaning that at the moment, the market is ready with a need, is asking for a technology, but the technology is not on the market. So the technological readiness level is low and the market and commercial readiness level is high. These two situations. Can you please get your microphone? Thank you so much. So what we are looking for is the sweet spot. What does it mean? It means that we find the right balance between the technology, the society, and the market, so that the technology is ready for commercialization. So let's focus on the market analysis. So the first thing is the business idea. There is an idea to enter the market with a unique solution. So is there a market for this business idea? And then we will look at the different regulation and operational environment, analyze the potential and the competitive landscape. Is there already an actor that is proposing this business idea? And how do we create value with this? And then we will go to the third step, which is the market survey, to support the business case with evidences. So how to go into all these different stages? We begin always with the customer. We have done it in the last webinar to really understand the needs of the customer and the customer segment. Do we have identified a potential customer that is interested in the technology? So customer and user are different because the customer is someone that is ready to pay for the technology. The user of the technology can exist, but if he has no willingness to pay for the technology, then this is not a customer. So we are beginning with the customer. What are the pains? What are the gains? We have seen this in the last webinar. I just want to sum up a bit this. And then we will go into validation of the solution. What is the solution that you are providing to this customer? And then the last stage is to check for financial viability. So is there a budget that has been developed? Are we covering our cost? Are we generating profit out of the solution that we are providing? So the first stage, really understanding the needs. What is the problem we would like to solve? And we are talking about wicked problem in the energy sector, meaning that we really need to understand who are the stakeholders and who has the problem and who is ready to pay for this. So we have seen it in the last webinar. If you want to deep dive into this part, you can go to the webinar 2 of this series. So why analyzing users? Is to empathize, to understand the behaviors and to understand the social practices you want to change. For instance, you want to reduce the number of cars on the street and you want to provide another way of moving with a multimodal app, for instance. You want to change the practice of how the people move. That means first you have to understand why they move with their car, then to change the practice to go for multimodal, for instance. So to achieve this understanding of the behavior, you need the trust of the customer. You need the trust so that they will talk to you during interviews, for instance, without filters about their behaviors and why are they acting like this. I am talking and taking the example of interviews, but you can also analyze data and do simulations to better understand the behaviors. What is really important is to deep dive into this knowledge and then really understand what are the pains of the user at the moment, what are the gains. And gaining trust is about observing them in situ, in real life. And that's why living labs are so important, because you are studying in a real life environment. You are not studying in a lab environment, but really with real user in situ, in real life, to extract data about behavior that are not biased, for instance, by the background of the user. If you are studying in a campus and you are studying engineers in their campus, you are biased. You are not studying the end user. And if you are studying in a lab situation, if you can control all the variables, then you're not studying the behavior in real life in situ. So I encourage you to really find experiments where you can study the behaviors in situ and in real life with the real end users of your technology. So how to create value with the users? So Strategizer has proposed with Osterwalder a really famous model that is called the value proposition canvas, and we propose at the end to test this model about the customer. What are the jobs? For instance, moving from point 1 to point B. What are the gains? What are the pains? And then your solution could generate gains and diminish the pains that the consumer have at the moment with the product and the services that you are providing. So let's deep dive with an example. You are a producer of solar panels, so you have a product and you would like to address a need. But at the moment when you begin with the technology, you are in a technological push situation where the technology readiness level is high. For solar panels, for instance, technology is ready, already on the market, but you have a customer to keep in mind. Who are you proposing these solar panels to? So the customer have some gains in having these solar panels and pains. For instance, at the moment, the problems with solar panels is that there are not many people able to install the solar panels because there is a growth of the market and the customer have to wait a long time to have their solar panel installed. So there is a pull from the market. The market is asking for the technology and the technology is ready. So we are in a situation where the societal readiness level is high, the technology is ready, and the market is asking for this. So we are in a situation that is well balanced with the three indicators. there is a product market fit. The product is ready for the market, and we find a value out of it, the value of installing solar panels. So last time we have worked on the personas to be able to better understand who is the final customer of the solution. And this is one example that has been proposed by one of the participants on a persona. You can have different segments of customers. That's really important to define who you are providing this technology to. Is it an end user? Is it a municipality? Is it a company? Who is the customer of your solution? So this was the first stage of the market analysis. Then you go into the second stage, which is analyzing the context in which your technology will be integrated. And how can you do this? Ask questions. So, is the product or service solving a real need? So great, you had an idea of a technology, but is there a need about this technology? What is this solving exactly? And is it the right time to bring the solution? Sometimes when we are too early on the market, it's not good because sometimes you have an advantage in being the first on the market, but you need also sometimes to build the market. So you have all the costs of building the market. So is it the right time to bring the solution to the market? Then is it a fit between the team and the vision? Is your team best equipped to provide the solution? For instance, I have a team that is composed of 3 engineers specialized in life sciences. And the first reaction I had when I saw the project, I said, great technology, great idea. But do you have people in business that could support you in the development? Because you have all the same profiles. Are you able to provide this solution with your competencies? So really important to have the same vision. What are the strengths of the team? Because when an investor would like to invest, they don't invest in a project, they invest in a product and they invest in the team. What are your strengths as a team? So maybe it's the innovative technology or an experienced team. Then you need to have a product market fit. So are the consumer ready to pay for the solution? Sometimes you have a problem, but the people are not ready to pay for this. So they would use it potentially for free, but they are not ready to give a budget out of it. It's the problem, for instance, with energy efficiency, because the electricity used to be low. It has been increased in the last years. And the benefit of having a solution for energy efficiency for the household was low as well, because they were not ready to invest a lot, because they had a low return on investments. So you need really to understand if they are willing to pay for the solution. The first solution on auto-consumption and how to increase the auto-consumption of household was really expensive and the win were really low. So are you ready to invest higher amounts of what you will not have a financial return on it? Probably not. So how the target customer currently solving the problem? Often I hear that our solution is new. It has never been on the market before. Yes, but the need is not new. So they are at the moment finding a solution to solve the problem. So how are they solving the problem at the moment? And are they ready to switch? The barriers to entry on the market are often the costs to switch. Lots of people have an iPhone, for instance, not to cite a brand, and it's really difficult to change for another brand because there are high barriers to change. So this is really important to check as well. Are the people ready to switch to a new solution, and what are the barriers to do so? You can also protect your market in building these barriers so that they will stay with your technology and not with another technology. So is there a fit between the market and the business model? Is the market big enough to make it a business model sustainable? And here we are talking about the economical sustainability. So over the time, are you covering your costs and generating a profit or generating a profit? If it's not the case, you will have to have subsidy in order to continue over the time. So, and for how long? So, and will you be able to achieve a market share? So lots of questions to analyze before you go on the market. And if you ask yourself, ask the question, when the technology is ready and when you think that you will go on the market, you will have troubles because this has to be reflected upfront at the beginning of the development, at the same time as the technological development. So there are different key performance indicators that you can use for the market and commercial readiness level. You can see the market size and try to get data about the size of the market at the moment. How much does it represent in a geographical area? And then you can increase the area to have a bigger market size. What is the customer lifetime value? If you take again the example of the solar PV and you know that this solar PV have a guarantee of 20 years, that means that they will not buy new PV before 20 years. So how long, in how long time will they invest again in the solution? This is also really true for heating solutions, because if they have already a heating solution, when are they ready to change and to see to provide a solution that is close to the end of life or their installation. So that's something on the customer lifetime value that is really important. For instance, I was working with the district heating systems and the people were really motivated to join the district heating system, but they just bought a new heating system and they didn't want to have a new system again after 5 years. So it's really important. You can also map when they are ready to invest in a new technology, when you get the data on the age of the former technology. So how will you generate leads? What is really important is to find a multiplicator. You don't want with your technology to go door by door to try and get customers. So to generate leads, what is really important is to find a multiplier, someone that is already in contact with your target customer so that you diminish the costs of contacting them one by one. So you can generate leads. And yeah, also it's important to understand the consumer usage. You can do market studies, for instance. So what is important is to see on a chart what is the technological readiness level. Is it high or low? What is the societal readiness level, high or low, and the market and commercial readiness level, so that you know where you have to do improvements. So how do you do this? There are lots of different tools. We don't have the time to go through all the different tools, but what I usually do, I try to understand the macro level, so the macroeconomics, which is with the PESTEL model, and then I do a benchmarking. So how do I perform compared to the leader of the market or to another domain where I can be inspired by the practices. Often it's interesting to go in another geographical direction so that you are not directly in competition, but you can see what is happening on this market. For instance, the US, or for instance, China, or for instance, Japan, and you see what is running on the market and how are you and how is your technology against other markets. You can do market surveys. It can be business to business or business to consumer. And with all this information, you can summarize the macro analysis and how you perform against competitors with a SWOT. So where you are analyzing your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities on the market, and the threats on the markets. But the SWOT is like a picture during the time. Where are your strengths and weaknesses? If you want to do it with a dynamic tool, you can use the TWOS. So the TWOS stands for how to use the strengths to leverage an opportunity, and how to contour the weaknesses, leveraging an opportunity, for instance. So it's a dynamic matrix where it helps you to take decisions about which market you want to enter and which type of strategy you want to develop. When you have done all this preliminary analysis, which takes a bit of time and data, you go for a business modeling and a business planning. We will see later on in more details. So what does PESTEL stands for? PESTEL is about understanding the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal context. It's opening the eyes on the macro level. For instance, we always take the same example, the war in Ukraine, increasing the electricity price. What does it mean? It means that elements of the macro environment will influence your business and your market, and you have to open your eyes not only on the technology, what exists as technologies, not only on the customers, but also on the other meta trends of the environment. If you don't do it, maybe you will not succeed in developing your technology and your market. The benchmarking analysis is choosing different dimensions where you want to compare with other actors and putting them on an axis to see how you perform, how you differentiate from your competitors. There is also the book on the blue ocean strategy, for instance. How can you be different from the competition? Really to find a way of providing a value which is different from the competitors. So the SWOT, I think, is a model that lots of people know. What are your strengths and your weaknesses? This is the part that is based on internal factors. That means that you can influence it. And external factors are opportunity and threats. You cannot influence, but you can take the opportunities and try to contour the threats. A risk is not a threat. You can try to have a plan for risk mitigation, but you cannot change the threats. For instance, you don't have an influence on the war in Ukraine. That means that what you can control is an internal factor. What you can't control, you have to adapt to your environment. So you have to adapt to your opportunities and the threats. So when you have done all this preliminary analysis, you go to the value proposition. So a business is there to provide value. If you don't provide value, you will not generate any business. So the core of the economy is based on the value proposition. What is the value that you provide to the society? So you need to validate your solution with the value map. You have understood your customer, you have understood the why are they ready to pay, because they have a problem, they have a pain, because they have also some gains. Now you want to see how your solution can generate value for this customer. So the value proposition of your solution. So all the pains that the customer encounter can be relieved with your solution with a pain reliever. You are relieving the pain and it creates value. For instance, subsidy system is so complex in energy. If you are providing a solution with a chatbot, for instance, that is relieving the pain of finding the different subsidies in your region, you are creating value. So you are relieving the pain with your service. And there are some gains. For instance, again, with this chatbot, the gains is having a lot of information on the different technology that exist. Gain creator is to help you navigate all the information that you can find on the energy transition so that you make a wiser choice or you make a quicker choice on the technology that you would like to use. So what is really important in terms of value proposition is that you can create gains, but you can also relieve pains with your product and your service. So this basic model helps you to map the value that you are providing with your solution, with your technology. So first, you select a segment of customer. You can have different segments, but you need to be sure that they are ready to pay. Otherwise, they are not customers. Then you identify the customer jobs, for instance, moving from point 1 to point B, or producing energy on their roofs. These are customer jobs. Then the customer pains, identified customer pains. So the pain is to navigate the subsidy system, which is different from one region to the other, or to increase the auto consumption rate of the solar panels. So these are pains that then you identify in the gains. How can we help with our solution? And then you prioritize. Some pains are more important than others, and the customer is ready to pay for certain pains and not for others. Taking the example of the energy efficiency, for instance, it's really difficult to make them pay for energy efficient solutions as long as it's not by default proposed in their apartment or inside the technology, in their appliances and so on. So we have here the value map. So the round is the customer and the green part is your solution and the value that is proposed by your solutions. You list your product and services and outline what are the pain relievers. So what is your solution providing that is diminishing the pain of the customers? Again, the examples, navigating through subsidies, reducing the time invested in searching for information, diminishing the hustle of energy efficiency at home, and so on. Then you can outline the gain creators. So what the solution that you are developing provide as gains for the customer. And then again, you rank it by order of importance. Why? Because you are putting resources against these developments. You need resources. For instance, if you decide that you want a chatbot that gives information on energy transition, then you will have to invest in different parts and you need to know where you want to put your investments. So you need to prioritize what is the most important pain on which the customer is ready to pay for it, and what is the least important one. So the value proposition describes the benefits the customer can expect from your product and your services. So you can think that your technology is great, that's the best, that doesn't exist on the market. But is there someone for whom it's creating value, and is this person ready to pay for it in order to cover the costs and potentially generate profit as well? So what are the products and services? These can be goods. So this can be physical, tangible goods, such as a district heating system. It can be intangible as well. That can be services or after sales that help the consumer. It can be digital as well, or financial products. I am always shocked at the moment of all the technology that exists on the market, but no financial model to finance it. If I want to buy a new electric car tomorrow, we have the financial models. If I want to buy a heating system at the moment in my country, the financial model is not optimal. So it means mortgage and increasing the mortgage. So this is also a value that could be provided with the product. The technology is there, but how the consumer will finance this technology? How will they acquire it? What are the services that are proposed on top of the technology in order to create value for the consumer? So the pain reliever, it can be savings. For instance, if you are consuming in auto consumption your own energy, you will save on the taxes on the energy that your DSO is providing to you. So it's reducing the cost, the overall costs. It can be that the customer feels better or fix underperforming solutions. For instance, if your heating system is not functioning correctly and you have a technology that can directly inform the technology provider that there is a problem and underperformance, and there is a maintenance that is automatized, that can provide a solution against these pains. So it can also eliminate the risks. For instance, with the heating system, the risk is that you have the system that does not function anymore in the heart of winter, and you don't have a solution to replace it in a short term. So how can you eliminate this risk? For instance, with a maintenance plan and an investment plan so that you can change your heating system in a short time period. You can limit the common mistakes and eliminate barriers. What are the gain creators? You can create savings. I gave the example of the auto consumption before. You can produce outcomes that exceed the expectation, or you can outperform current value proposition. And if you manage to diminish the costs while increasing the services that are delivered, this is a strategy that is a hybrid strategy, because you are able to do better with lower costs. That means that your competition will have really problems in surpassing you if you are able to diminish the costs and providing a higher value. So how can you simplify the life of your customers? We are always trying to develop new programs for energy transition where we think that the consumer is a superhero that will buy the services and that is so excited about the new technologies. But often it's not the case. They just want less troubles. They just want not to think about the energy transition, and they want solutions that are transparent, that help them by default without having to invest time and energy in thinking about this. So how can you make the life of your customer easier? So how to create positive social consequences and help them adopt your solution. So what is really important in the element of the value proposition is that you are generating a value, that you are differentiated from your competitors. There are other technology existing on the market, and substantiated. So, and it's always about the perceived value. What you think about your technology doesn't influence much what they will perceive, the value that they're perceived. So it's always a value that is subjective, linked to a person and the perception of this person. And as the literacy, so the level of knowledge is really low on energy, the perceived value of the complexity of your solution but often is really low. They don't know much about energy, so they don't perceive something as really new. But they will perceive the value if this can remove a pain, if this can be simply used, if it generates value for the customers. So you can write a sentence that is used for elevator pitch to explain how your solution generates value. So when you do a pitch for investor, you will have to prepare pitches for investors. This sentence is really convenient. It's our product or service helps whom, so the customer, to do what, and you explain the needs and the opportunity by, and you explain the benefits. Here you have different examples coming from CETP. So the solution Cactus is the most cost-effective and hassle-free electricity storage system on the market. So they have key benefits, which is cost-effective and hassle-free. You don't have to be an expert. The system is hassle-free. It works automatically in the background, providing benefits to the clients while stabilizing the national electricity grid at the same time. Watch the video to see how Cactus works in practice. Something really simple where we put upfront what are the main benefits of the solution. Then we go into a business model. So this stage 4 of the market and commercial readiness is to prepare the business plan, a preliminary business plan. So the overview of the income and the costs that are generated, the supply chain, so how will you distribute your technology, and what are the target markets? And what are the investments that are needed? What is often complex is that you don't have all this information, meaning that you have to do a lot of hypotheses at this stage. It can be done in a simple Excel sheet where you put in one page all the hypotheses that you have linked to the income that you think that you will have, on the life cycle, on the costs that you will have, so that you begin to build the cost structure and the revenue model. So when you are doing this, you are checking the financial viability. What does it mean? You are checking the costs and the revenues to see if it's viable financially. If you can cover your costs and generate a profit. I always separate generate a profit. It depends if you need to have a profit. If you are working for a profit company, or if you have an investor that needs this profit. if it's not the case, what is really important is to cover the costs. So the business model fit, you have the problem solution fit. So you know your customer, you have your solution that has been described, and now you go for the business modeling. So what is a business model? A business model is the rationale of how the organization creates, delivers, and captures value. We are always centered on this value and this perceived value of your customer. And the business model in one page try to grasp how you create value. And here you can see some example from the CETP platform. For instance, the solar technology, a new generation of fully printed solar cells. It's the first company to develop, produce, and commercialize flexible solar cells. And go one step further, we create products and application area available for licensing. So you are declaring your why and your factor of differentiation. Why are you different and how are you different from the competition? There are lots of producers of solar cells, but what is your main factor to differentiate? Again, with another example on the energy storage that you can go into details in the presentation. So what do you need in terms of business modeling? You need to understand your customers, and we have already talked about this. You need to know how you create value. You need to know the channels. So what are the distribution channels? Will you have a sales force on the market? Will you distribute through a partner that has shops? Will you distribute through the DSO? So who is distributing your technology? What is the relationship that you want to have with your customer? Are you providing everything online? Are you having advertising campaigns? So how are you communicating with your customers? The revenue streams. So why do they pay? How much do they pay? For what? And the key resources. What are your key resources? Is it your team? Is it the financial resources? Is it the technical installation that you have? And what are your key activities? At the moment, it is research and development. But what will be the key activities of the company that will be generated with the technology that you are developing? Who are your key partners? And what is your cost structure? So all these elements can be summarized in the sweet spot. We said the sweet spot is a mix between the feasibility. So is it feasible what you propose? With what resources? What is the value that you are providing? What are the key activities? This is the feasibility. So this is about the technological readiness level again. Then you have the desirability. Do you have a customer in mind that will pay for this? What is the relationship that you have with this customer? And who has the direct contact? So who is the distributor? And you have to convince the channel before you convince the customer. Because if you cannot distribute your technology, you will not reach the market. So this is the desirability, and this is the societal readiness level. Is your technology ready for a customer? And then you have the viability. So when you have done all this, you have proven that there is a need, you have proven that your technology is diminishing the pain of your customer, but can it be done in a way that you are covering your costs with revenues and potentially generate a profit? So this is the viability. And at the middle, you have the sweet spot, meaning this is feasible, this is desirable, and this is viable economically. This is a long way to go. So what are the questions that you can ask? What do you do? So what is the value that you are providing to the society? How do you interact? And how do you communicate with your customers? How do you lead sales? How do you reach them? The acquisition, so what are the distributors? And who do you help? So who are your customers? So a business model is really simple. And this is a tool where you and your team can exchange, discuss, and you can do it in a way of a workshop, which is participative, so that you can agree on all these elements. And sometimes the business model can be more used inside your structure than outside, because then you are sure that you agree on what is the value, what are the segments, what is the distribution. So first, you prepare, so you mobilize. It means that you have your team around you. You are not doing this on your own. Then you understand before business modeling all the elements, such as the PESTEL, the politics, economy, technology, legal environment. Then you co-design this. That means that you are doing a workshop, you are doing interviews, you are co-developing this business model with your team, but not only, maybe with partners to agree on this. And then you implement, you prototype, and as soon as possible, get a feedback from the field. This is about lean startup models, test, get data, if you are right or not. For instance, are the customer ready to pay for this value? Try to sell it and see if there is someone that is willing to pay. The willingness to pay is something that is really important to check early in the process. If you develop all the technology, you are in TRL 9, but you don't know if there is a willingness to pay, you will not sell your solution on the market. And then you manage, adapt, move, and you can even pivot. If you see that the offer that you are doing does not generate a willingness to pay, the people are not ready to pay for what you are delivering, then you will have to pivot and find another way of providing your technology, another service, another product. So that's important that you have not finished all your project before you do this, so that you have still time to pivot. The later you pivot, the less variable you can change. If you have decided everything, how can you come back and change main elements of your offer? You can't. That means that you need to do these checks, the market and commercial readiness level at the beginning. Otherwise, you will have to redo all your development. So I will not go into details with this innovation project scorecard. What is interesting, you can follow this link in the presentation that you will receive and assess your actual level of risk, of strategy, of business model. This is a tool that has been developed by strategizer, who are really the main actors in terms of business modeling. When you have done the business model, you will go and deep dive into a business plan. So business plan is not anymore on one page, but it's more 20 pages to explain parts of what we have already introduced, but in much more details. So you will need all the way that we have discussed before you do your business planning. You have your business model ready, and then you can go into a business plan. So what is the difference? The business model is the company's way of creating value. So perceived value, subjective value, while the business plan is a document setting the company's strategy and financial implication. So, for instance, a financial plan with the costs and the revenues will be in much more details over 3 years in a business plan than in a business model. In the business model, you explain how you think that you will generate revenue, but in the business plan, you will see when you will generate, how much, for how long, from whom, and with all the different categories of costs and revenues. So it's in much more details. So what is in a business plan? So why do you need a business plan when you want a commercialization partner? If you need a commercialization partner, you have to explain what is your solution, what is the potential customer, what is the environment, how much you think that you can win, which revenue can you generate, how much does it cost to develop this solution. So your potential partner will ask a lot of questions, and you should be able to answer with a business plan. You can assess the financial viability. You have to demonstrate the viability of your solution and attract partner and the investments. They don't want to invest in your solution if they don't know how much does it cost in details over 3 years and how much you can generate and what are the actual solutions on the market, what are the competitors, and what is your key advantage against the competition. So business de-risking strategies is also about the team. So is your team ready? We have seen before, is the team ready to turn this innovation into a profitable business? Do you have all the skills in your team? And if not, how can you de-risk this? So talking about de-risking is about turning the question around the problem that we want to solve and not about the technology that we want to develop. Are we serving a market need? So if it's not the case, the solution will fail. So this market orientation, also we can have a technology with a high technological readiness level. If there is no need, so no market pool, if we have not tested the market and the willingness to pay for our technology, then there will be a failure. So what are the key barriers to de-risk? There is the regulatory compliance. Here in Switzerland, we will have a new law and a lot of uncertainty. If the law is accepted, there will be potential innovation about energy communities, about opening up the possibilities to sell energy in the neighborhood and so on. If it's not the case, then the business will not evolve around these energy communities because the monopolistic point of view will dominate. What does it mean? That your solution should be in compliance with the regulation. So in the PESTEL model, this is the legal part, but also the political part, because the energy laws are evolving really quickly. That means that there is a need as well to analyze on the political side, where are the laws? And is your technology compliant to a commercialization, and over which length? So is it in the next 6 months that the law is changing, or is it in a year or 2? That brings a lot of uncertainty. So how can you de-risk it in being compliant with the regulation or aware of the regulation? The intellectual property management is also something to be important to negotiate. So if you are a researcher in a university, you can have the support of the technology transfer of your university to negotiate these intellectual properties if you want to work with a company, for instance. So protecting your innovation and ensuring fair agreements so that you can also be rewarded of the development that you have done, even if you don't continue further and you let a company develop your technology. Business planning and drafting a good business plan is important. I have mentioned before. That means that you should have a team in place that is ready to write a business plan. If you don't, you need a partner or the technological team, the technology transfer team to support you. And how can you secure investment and stakeholder support? Stakeholder is not only the customer. You will have the policy that would need to support as well. So are you equipped to secure investments? The investments are high in the energy sector. So how can you increase the investment that you can have? So what is the partnership that you can develop? In Living Labs, we have 4 types of partner, which are the researchers, but also the public authorities, the companies, and the citizens. So developing these partnerships ahead of time is important. If you come up with your solution at the end, when everything is developed and you try to convince the partner to join, it's always more difficult to convince them instead of taking them from the beginning of the adventure and the development of your project. So building a network to support and invest from the beginning of the project. And validating and demonstrating the product or the solution with the stakeholder. Again, it is about willingness to pay. Are there people willing to pay for the solution that you develop? And are there customers? And how will you acquire customers for your technology? So the investor never invests in projects. They invest in products and teams. That means that if you don't have a diverse team, you should invest in developing your team to have the societal part, to understand the needs, to have the market and commercialization part, to develop business plan and business model with you, to support you, and the technological part. These 3 components need 3 types of skills that are really rarely in one person. That's really difficult to have an inventor that is also a good business developer and that understands as well the needs of the customers. So often these are at least 3 people or more to have all the competencies. So how can you do this? Assemble a diverse team with researchers, but maybe also the technology transfer of your university, and also partner with external entities. Open innovation is about collaborating with other partners to be able to get the competencies that you don't have in your team from outside. It's really opening up the barriers or your team to externals. So you don't have to buy these competencies. You can look for them with partnerships. So there are different options. Why is it important, you as a researcher, is to diminish the risks of your technology not reaching the market. You can decide to have direct involvement of commercialization activities and decide to opt out entirely. So once one stage of development of the technology is achieved, you decide not to continue further and to negotiate rights on the IP. You can, on another level, act as an expert in the team and provide technical expertise and guidance, but be on the feasibility part and decide not to go on the viability, on the social adoption part, and stay in the project as an expert. You can decide to be an active participant in the team and contribute to the strategic decision, or you can run the team and assume the leadership of the commercialization. So there are different levels after you have developed the technology of involvement, and depending on your competencies, you should choose at which level you want to act. So what are the different skills that are needed? Of course, intellectual property specialists are important, and legal advisors as well to support you in protecting your IP. Business developers are really people that help you to understand what is the value that you are generating, but also to get the investors on board for your project. And of course, you can have technical expert, market analyst, and so on.
Ja, hallo.
So this business de-risking is about finding the right partners. You don't want to hire all of them, but you can partner up with industry leaders, with research institutions, government bodies, non-government associations, or venture capitalists. And how do you find these partners? There are lots of networking activities, such as in CTP platform. You can attend conferences or joint association. You can also develop best practices to showcase your experience and do videos and attract partners. Participate online in conferences or also collaborate with technology incubators in your region, accelerators, and work with startups. When choosing partners, the alignment of the goals is important. So if you are not aligned with the goals of the development, if you go for a non-profit and you partner up with a company that wants profit, then you will have troubles. You need as well complementary capabilities and resources. If you are all technical people, try to reach for business development, for instance. And what are the previous collaborations? So when you have reached this stage, then you go for a demonstration, real life, and upscaling. And often this is not anymore the research and development part. You are really testing on the market, and for instance, the commercial partner will take the lead, or you decide to continue. But often you will find a partner that helps you go into the different steps so that you focus on the R&D part and your expertise. So why to demonstrate? I give you the example of the nest here. This building has modules where they can test, for instance, ACV systems, or they can test energy systems. And the customer can see in real life the demonstrator and are willing then to test on their site. It reduces the risks because it's not anymore a research environment, but it's really a demonstration environment. So how to overcome all the barriers? I will let you go to all the details. What are the main barriers? The stakeholders don't receive your solution. There is no institutional receptiveness, so you have not embarked into the institution, or the offer is too fragmented, or in the urban setting, this is not understood and complex to integrate, and there is a limited representativeness. So to all of these different barriers, you will have to act on and set aside different strategies in order to overcome the barriers to upscaling. For instance, involving policymakers so that they see the development that you have done, being transparent and collaborative, and work with national funding if you still don't generate the revenues that you need in order to be viable over the time. And a clear communication on the long term is really important for adoption of your technology with a diverse group of stakeholders. So now I will stop sharing my screen and we will go for your questions before we go to the interactive activity. So, do you have questions so far? So, yes, you will receive the presentation. You will have access to the presentation so that you can go into more details on what has been presented. And now if you have a question regarding your case. No, it was crystal clear. So I want to share with you the link, and Laura will put it in the chat, of the Miro board so that you can test your own value proposition. So if you click on the link in the chat, you will see this value proposition and how do you generate value with your solution. So I let you click on the chat. You will arrive on Miro, and I will share my screen so that I can guide you into this activity. So when you arrive on Miro, you will see here again what is a gain creator, what is a product or service, what is a pain reliever. You have below the value proposition Canva, where you can describe your technology. So here is the product side. So you can describe your product. Here you can describe your own customer. And then what are the gains that you generate? What are the pains? And what are the pain reliever and the gain creator? You see on the left sticky notes. So for the ones that are not used with Miro, you take a sticky note and then you can paste it in the format. For instance, here, my product is a capacity building program, and my customer, you can copy paste if you want the sticky notes. And my customers today are you. And what is the job is to develop commercialization skill. So this is the job of the customer, develop commercialization skills. What are the pain? I give you just an example, and then you can go into your example. What are the game to reach the market with your technology? And what are the pains So potentially in certain teams, missing diversity in business competencies. So you can put as many as you want. And then how to relieve this pain. So help in finding the right competencies. And how to reach the market. So explaining business model design, help to reach the market, to have a first version. So I let you like 10 minutes to do your own value proposition, and then we will go together again to answer your last questions. So I let you fill in your own document. So you choose one of the value proposition, you put your name on it, and then you can even copy paste it when you are finished in a Word document so that you can keep it. I let you work. So there is a question, how geography can be advantage or disadvantage in this topic. So geography, it does, I don't know, you want to express yourself to explain the question a bit more? Is it about your geographical market, or is it about the legislation in the geographical area? Maria. So yeah, so the market in the European Union, what is interesting is that the European Union is really wanting to reduce the barriers in Europe to facilitate the dissemination of the technology in Europe, to have one single market. So I am based in Switzerland, so it's a bit different, but really it's a willingness from Europe to reduce the barriers so that there is the same regulation and you can disseminate your technology. So I think that's really interesting to be able to have a higher market that you can serve the European market with the same technology, because often if the country is too small, the market size is also too small and you cannot serve a bigger market. Now, for market studies, that's important to always understand your own market and to study the market, because all the different environments will have different regulation, different laws and so on. That means that you will have to study all the different markets before entering one market or the other. You cannot always serve the market the same way on the different countries. And in the European projects, what we see is that the Eastern countries have really a chance because the European Commission would like to support the development in Eastern countries. That means that you can also serve your own market, but also try to develop internationally your solution, finding partners. And the European projects are great for this because you have already partners in different countries that will help you to internationalize your solution. So it's also a chance to begin with such public funding so that you find partners. And in each country, you have offices that help you to internationalize. I hope this answered the questions. There is a second question. You have the chance to have the sun today. We don't. And then in terms of, are you also testing the different step, persona, value proposition before you demonstrate the business to check if the things you generated are right? Exactly. Really, we begin with the need. What is the need? What is the persona? And you check it with real data. So you have a lot of hypotheses, and you can, maybe you think that your solution is for end consumers, but you realize while testing that it will be addressed to businesses. That means that you could pivot and change your persona and go for another persona and go for another customer segment because you have an hypothesis that has not been validated. So that's really important to check the persona, check the value proposition before demonstrating. Otherwise, you are investing a lot in a solution. You are developing it, and you cannot sell it. You can take an example of the we are developing here in our campus fuel cells, and you think that the characteristics, the most important, are the power that it can generate, but now we see that the size of the installation can be a real barrier by the companies. If you have an installation that takes too much square meters, it cannot be installed. So in a lab condition, that makes no difference because you have the space and you can test in your campus and so on. But then when you go real life by a real customer and a company, and you have developed all your installation horizontally and takes a lot of square meters, then the company tells you, oh no, sorry, but we really need a smaller vertical installation. What does it mean? It means that you have to change everything in your installation. So little details, if you need to pivot, really at the end of the process will cost you a lot. But if at the beginning you know that your installation should be vertical and not horizontal, then you will save time and develop the technology that is directly adapted to the customer. That's why preliminary discussion with the customer is really important so that you can still pivot with your technology. So we always begin with persona and value proposition, and that's why we need to have the technological readiness level in parallel with the societal readiness level and the market and commercial readiness level. Other questions? So we will go into the Miro to see the work that has been done in Miro. Does someone want to present what has been done? Do you want to present? No. Okay. No one would like to present what they have done? No problem. So now we are at the end of this presentation. I hope that it will help you into commercialization of your technology. The main takeaway are to understand that to have a team that is diverse and with the right competencies from the beginning, even if your technology is not ready, even if your project is not ready, take contact with your technology transfer officer with a partner that are specialized in business development. Try to test the market and do market studies. You have seen the risks. If you don't do it, potentially you will not enter the market because the technology will not answer and create the need, the answer to the need. There is always a perceived value, meaning that you can perceive a value in your solution, but if the consumer, the end consumer, does not perceive this value, then that will be difficult to generate profit and to cover your costs. So I think that you have as well with the CTP platform the right competencies to support you if you don't have the competencies to develop your project further. So I thank you, Tanya, for the opportunity to share this presentation and the learnings, and we are there to support you if you need. Thanks.
Thank you so much on my part as well. It was really, really interesting and important. And thank you for the previous webinars as well. And thank you to all of our audience here and everybody who helped put this presentation and this event together. Thank you very much and have a nice evening. Bye.